Hey Linear, this is Drew Lassen presenting my final 408 mix portfolio. This is my last song off my Capstone album. Um, Features Drew Hardesty on drums and myself on guitar and bass, and Sam on clean and harsh vocals, and Cameron on some more harsh vocals. And so first starts off with an introductory guitar. What I did to this was I EQ'd it a little bit. I kind of wanted a lot of mid-range in this song. I also added a talk box effect that really bumped up the mid-ranges. Added a little bit of distortion, an vintage oral exciter, as well as I really compressed it. And this is what it sounds like with everything off. And with everything on. I was a big fan of how this talk box affected my guitar. And then for the next, after the guitar introduces itself, the drums come in as well as the vocals. And for the first set of drums right here, I only included the overheads as well as the room. And for EQ wise, low pass filter and bumped around 2K, took out a little bit of the higher end just because when you hit the cymbals it kind of overwhelming. Then I compressed them with the all-in feature, and this is what that sounds like. Also added a SansAmp plugin on the room microphone, which is a Royer, by the way.
Take the house built by my father.
So I thought that was a pretty cool sound. And then for the vocals, all I did, I thought they sounded pretty good by themselves, so I just applied a high pass filter, as well as, well, I guess I shouldn't have said by themselves because I did do this EQing. Anyways, took out a little bit of the lower end. Bumped around 1.5K, as well as some of the higher end to give it a little bit more shine. And then I compressed it, not too much, just to level it out a little bit. And then I bussed it to a reverb track where I chose, this one. A chamber setting, as well as a decent amount of delay. And then after this phrase is done, the drums enter back in without just the overheads and rooms, and nothing's distorted. It's a natural sounding kit. This is what that transition sounds like. Yep. For this one, I had recorded the verse and the chorus vocals separately, just because he's singing them at pretty drastically different levels. So, I didn't want anything to clip and wanted to compress it a little bit more. For the EQs, I let those stay the same. And for the drums, I put them all on separate tracks just because I didn't want to have to deal with automation, because I was dealing with a couple different drum sounds. And then I did a small amount of compression on everything. Kept it pretty natural sounding. And then after the bass also enters in, and you can see that's my EQ. Use CLA bass settings because I really like how that plugin sounds, as well as used a little bit of this SansAmp plugin. Give it a pretty had to back off on the low end a little bit. It was a little bit overwhelming, a little bit too powerful. And then after that, this chorus, a verse, and another chorus, my distorted guitar enters, and when that happens, because everything kind of ramps up in volume, I had to create more drum tracks with more compression to make sure that they're really pushing through the mix, especially the snare because it kind of got lost. So I had to compress everything in just a little bit more, and here's that transition. Yep, and for that we doubled this, but I ended up throwing out this one because it sounded a little bit funky and a little bit out of tune, and I didn't want to tune it. I had to compress this one a lot more. As you can see, it's an 8-to-1 ratio setting, just because he's singing really loudly on that, and I didn't want the dynamics to really go all over the place. And then, as you can see here, we kind of have a back and forth vocal styling here. Yep, and for this one, I did a whole bunch of takes with Sam and Cameron, doing different types of screams and everything. Then afterwards, I kind of messed around with which ones I thought sounded good together, which ones sounded good like one after the other, and then so I simply messed with the mute automation to get what I wanted out of that. Then for Sam's vocals, I compressed them a decent amount because he's yelling and wanted that one. And then for consistent dynamically, but I had to take out around 2K because that was kind of just pushing through way too much, and I sent all those to my reverb and delay auxiliary just to make sure that they weren't like super up front, because when they're dry it just sounded out of place in the mix, and I wanted to blend it in. And then when it ends, because it has this kind of powerful end where Drew does this fill on the toms, and then everything just kind of hits, and so I decided to add an 808 drum to this, and for this I added some fades to get rid of the initial attack because it was a little bit too clicky for me, and I also stretched it out with elastic audio, so that's how this sounds. And for these last vocals, as you could hear, I gave them an insane amount of reverb so that they just had that huge trailing off, and it sounded like they're in a cave, and yeah, I thought that sounded pretty cool. And I didn't affect those drums any differently, and I left my guitar the same. And yeah, that's all for that mix. Thanks for listening.